Hey, what's going on? I'm skating here in Chicago and I feel like I'm about to fall off this skateboard because I never skate. Anyway, today we're going to be doing some night photography, so I thought I'd bring you along and show you 5 night photography tips. Alright, so tip number 1 is going to be if you're shooting handheld. You don't want your shutter speed to be any lower than your focal length. For example, if you're shooting on a 24mm lens, you don't want your shutter speed to be lower than 1/20th of a second. This will just help make sure that your photos are nice and crisp. Alright, so tip number 2 is going to be finding reflections, and this can be anything from finding a window, finding a puddle, even a car window, or using your phone. What this is going to do is it's going to help fill in your photo and help brighten up the photos because they're going to be taken at night. Anyway, the next tip is going to be when you're taking long exposures at night. There's 3 things you want to remember, which is A, your ISO, B, your aperture, and C, your shutter speed. Obviously the 3 components of photography. First things first, you want to keep your ISO as low as possible. So for most cameras, this is going to be ISO of 100, which is going to keep the noise in your photo as low as possible because who the fuck likes noise? So for your aperture, you want to keep that around f8, f10, sort of around that mid-range, and that's just going to make sure everything in your photo is nice and sharp and in focus. And then for your shutter speed, just trial and error until the photo looks correctly exposed. Obviously, if you're going to do a long exposure of around a couple of seconds, you're going to need a tripod, so just keep that in mind as well. Alright, so that brings me to the next tip. If you don't have a tripod, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but let's say you don't have a tripod, you're out at night and you want to shoot a long exposure. What you can do is you can actually rest your camera on a ledge. Find objects that are around you, rest your camera on them, and then you'll be able to get long exposures. And for the last tip, you're going to want to use this when you're in a darker condition where there's not as much surrounding light. You want to go into your phone, you want to go into the Notes app, so it's a white screen, and you want to put the brightness up fully on your phone. Then you want to get a subject to look at their phone, and that's just going to light up their face. This just generally makes for a really cool portrait, and the light on their face just helps place focus on them. Anyways, that's all for today's video. I hope you learned something new. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, leave a like and help me out by hitting subscribe. And as always, stay inspired, keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one.